Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime, and it is time to talk about Brawl Stars' newest brawler rarity, Chromatic. Brawl Stars recently released this image on their social media platforms and told us that Brawl Stars is getting a new Chromatic rarity. Now I've got some additional information that Supercell has not released yet, so I could give you guys an exclusive look at how this is actually going to impact Brawl Stars. This is important because Chromatic rarity is completely different than all of the other rarities in the game. By the way guys, I'm going to be covering all of the information in the update with as much detail as I possibly can, as Supercell allows me to do that, so make sure you guys subscribe for more information. Also, I would appreciate it if you guys use code Kairos in the Brawl Stars shop to help support this channel. That is Kairos. You guys know how to spell it, or at least you do now. We're going to start off by talking about how the Chromatic rarity is going to work out, and then we're going to talk about how it is going to impact Brawl Stars later on in this video. I have a lot on my mind regarding not only the Chromatic Brawler rarity, but as well as the Brawl Pass, so make sure you guys watch to the end of the video. When a Chromatic Brawler is released, you can kind of think of it like a Legendary Brawler. I don't know if they're going to have like super unique mechanics like the Legendary Brawlers do, but what I do know is that it is going to start out with a drop rate very similar to Legendary Brawlers. But rather than it costing 700 gems or $40 US, you can get it as a bonus by purchasing the Brawl Pass, which I'm estimating is going to cost like somewhere between 100 gems and 200 gems. So for the gemmers out there like me, Chromatic Brawlers will be a steal. But the really cool thing about Chromatic Brawlers is that their drop rate will actually increase over time, which means that free-to-play players are going to be able to unlock them much easier than a Legendary Brawler. Let's talk specifically about how the drop rates are going to change over time so that you guys have an idea of how this actually works. You guys most likely already know that Legendary drop rates change depending on how long it's been since you've unlocked your last Brawler and what the rarity of that Brawler was. So your Legendary drop rate is actually going to be different than mine, but I actually looked at my 6 non-maxed out accounts and came up with an average Legendary drop rate of about 0.1%. So for the purpose of this video at least, I'm going to say that the Chromatic Brawler drop rate starts around 0.1%. And it's going to stay at that drop rate for its first season. And by season, I'm referring to the Brawl Pass season. I'm assuming that seasons are going to last throughout each calendar month because that's exactly how it works in Clash Royale as well as in Clash of Clans, and I can't really think of a reason why Brawl Stars would do it differently. So for Chromatic Brawler's first season, or roughly its first month, its drop rate would be about 0.1%. But if you don't get that Brawler in its first season, the drop rate increases from a Legendary rate to a Mythic rate. That's an increase from 0.1% to 0.25%. In other words, you would be 2.5 times more likely to unlock a Brawler after about a month. Okay, now with that said, I know Mythic Brawlers are still pretty rare, but it does not stop there. If you don't unlock the Chromatic Brawler in the second season, the drop rate increases again from a Mythic rate to an Epic rate. That's an increase from 0.25% to 0.55%. In other words, you would be 5.5 times more likely to unlock the Brawler after about 2 months in comparison to when it was first released into the game. Now for a free-to-play player, news of a new Legendary Brawler is kind of like really disheartening, right? I see it every time we get a new Brawler in the comment section. People are like, well, cries in free-to-play. I know it might not seem like it, but I feel ya. I get that. Because you guys know it's going to take months of hard-earned Brawl boxes for you to even unlock it, or even for you to have a decent chance of unlocking it. And even for small spenders, it's not really worth it to just like buy some mega boxes so you can try and get the new Brawler, because chances are just too low. Mythics are also kind of difficult to unlock, but Epic Brawlers are very obtainable, even if you're free to play, assuming that you are actively playing each day. I see this as an absolute win because free-to-play players are basically guaranteed to get the new Brawlers eventually, but spenders can get the new Chromatic Brawlers pretty early on without actually dropping 40 bucks on a Legendary Brawler special, right? Okay, now this does leave me with a few questions that Supercell did not answer, so I'm going to do my best to speculate on them. The first question I have is, will Brawl Stars continue releasing Brawlers of other rarities? Are we still going to have super rare Brawlers? Are we still going to get Trophy Road Brawlers, Legendary Brawlers? I cannot imagine that Supercell would stop releasing these other rarities. I mean, one of the most exciting things in Brawl Stars is unlocking a Legendary Brawler that you've wanted for a very long time, right? And the same goes for pushing your Brawlers to a really high trophy count so you can unlock that new Trophy Road Brawler. I also think the Brawl Stars developers recognize the importance of releasing, really common Brawlers like rare or super rare Brawlers that everyone's going to be able to unlock easily. After all, free-to-play games like Brawl Stars only do well in the long run when their free-to-play player base is happy. And I think it would be a huge mistake for Brawl Stars to only release Chromatic Brawlers from now on. And I think that they recognize that. I think it's safe to assume that we're going to continue to get other rarities, so you don't need to worry about that. The next question I have is, are we going to get a Chromatic Brawler for every Brawl Pass? Honestly, I don't think that every Brawl Pass is going to have a Chromatic Brawler, and here's why. I'm speculating that each Brawl Pass is going to last for a month. In order for Supercell to release a new brawler for each Brawl Pass, that would require them to release 12 brawlers each year, and that's if they did not release brawlers of other rarities, which I still think they're going to. In 2019, Brawl Stars released 10 new brawlers. That's too short of one per month, right? And we're in the 5th month of 2020, and Brawl Stars has only released 3 new brawlers this year. Now, that being said, we're likely going to get at least 1 new brawler sometime next week, probably 2, with the next update. But you guys get the idea. If Brawl Stars is going to release a new brawler with every Brawl Pass, not only will they have to release 12 Chromatic Brawlers per year, they'll also have to release more brawlers on top of that are rare, super rare, epic, mythic, legendary, and of course like the Trophy Road Brawlers. Now I'm gonna be the first person to say this, right? I would love it if Brawl Stars released new brawlers more frequently. New brawlers are my favorite type of content, and getting more than 1 brawler per month, I mean, I love the idea of that just changing the meta. That sounds like a blast. But I have a really hard time imagining Supercell would be able to increase the amount of brawlers that they release from 10 per year to 15 or even 20 per year. They'd literally have to double what they did in the first year that Brawl Stars was released. So no. Assuming that seasons only last for 1 month, I don't think we're going to be getting a Chromatic Brawler for each Brawl Pass, and that means that Brawl Stars is probably going to have to release a lot of extra content in those passes that don't have a new brawler to really make it worth purchasing. The next question that I have is, how are Chromatic Brawlers going to impact the cost of the Brawl Pass? In my last video talking about the Brawl Pass, I already talked about why Brawl Stars' Brawl Pass could cost more than $5 to purchase, and for a lot of good reasons. But adding a new brawler to the Brawl Pass, that sounds like an insane amount of value, and I just can't imagine it not increasing the price of it. At most, Chromatic Brawlers start as rare as legendary brawlers, and it costs 700 gems to buy a legendary brawler. That's 40 bucks. But even in the least, Chromatic Brawlers are as rare as Epic Brawlers, and it costs 170 gems to buy an Epic Brawler outright. That's the equivalent of like $10 US. By the way, I don't actually think it's worth it for you to buy those specials for most players, like 99% of them, but those are the values of the non-discounted brawler offers. Even if we just take the value of an Epic Brawler at 170 gems or $10 US right there, that is twice the cost to buy a pass in Clash Royale or a pass in Clash of Clans. And that is on top of all the reasons why I thought the Brawl Pass could cost more than $5. So at this point, I kind of have a hard time thinking it's only gonna be $5 a month. Now the whole idea of a Brawl Pass system is to add so much potential value to the special that it's basically a no-brainer to purchase it, assuming that you can afford to do so, right? And I don't think that it would be smart for Brawl Stars to make the pass very expensive, because Brawl Stars actually has a younger audience than Clash of Clans and Clash Royale. Now with all that considered, I think that the maximum price for a Brawl Pass would be no more than 200 gems, even including all of this value, and that it's likely that the pass is going to cost 170 gems or $10 US. We already know that getting the Brawl Pass will guarantee that you will unlock the Chromatic Brawler, and I think it is very likely that they will also include one other exclusive reward with each pass. It's probably going to be like a special skin or possibly even emotes that I predicted in my last video. Okay, now I wanted to talk about something really important regarding this update. You guys know that I read through a lot of the comments on my videos. I don't respond to all of them, but I read a lot more than you guys probably think. And regarding the Brawl Pass in my last video, I'd say that most people were responding pretty positively, but there was still a lot of feedback from people who were upset about the Brawl Pass. A lot of the feedback was regarding free-to-play players missing out on the content coming in the Brawl Pass, and I wanted to share my insight on the subject, okay? Now before I do that, I think it's very important that you guys know that I haven't always been a mobile gaming YouTuber, right? Like, I was going through school, I know what it's like to be dirt broke, I know what it's like to be a complete free-to-play player that never spends money on any game, including ones that I'm completely obsessed with and have been playing for years. I'm not a free-to-play player right now, especially because my business requires me to spend gems, but I know how important it is to make the free-to-play community happy. With that said, I wanted to share some thoughts. For starters, Brawl Stars said that the Brawl Pass was coming with a revamped progression system. We don't know what the details behind this are, but the progression system is changing some way. It might be with some small tweaks, it might be with some big changes. If free-to-play progression gets nerfed with these changes, you are completely justified with being upset with this change. In my opinion, if it will take longer for a free-to-play player to progress their account because of these changes, this is a bad thing, and I will absolutely be doing the math to find out if this is the case. And I promise to you guys, I am going to be 100% honest with you regarding whether or not that's happening. No amount of money is ever worth my honor. Also, you guys already know that if there's anything that I strongly disagree with regarding Brawl Stars, I will share my feedback with Supercell. They obviously don't have to apply the feedback feedback, but I will give it to them directly. And while I can be very logical, I can also be very persuasive. And I think that you guys would actually be surprised at how receptive Supercell has been to feedback like this in the past. I've shared a lot of concerns with them, and they've actually applied a lot of the things before you guys even knew it was coming in the update. But I don't actually think that is going to happen this time. I have been playing Brawl Stars since day one of beta, clear back in 2017, and I have been a part of every progression system revamp, and there have been a lot of them. I cannot remember a time when they did not make it easier for free-to-play players to progress. It would be a mistake for Supercell to nerf free-to-play progression because free-to-play games do not do well over time if their free-to-play player base is unhappy. The Brawl Stars developer team has made it very clear to me that they understand this, as Brawl Stars is way more friendly to free-to-play players than Supercell's other games. But there is one very important thing that you need to understand. Just like the free-to-play players need to be happy in order for a game to succeed for years, the spenders need to be happy as well, and there needs to be enough content worth spending on to make them happy. In order for a game to do well for many years, which is the entire goal of Supercell's entire motto, it requires happy free-to-play players and happy gemming players. If free-to-play players aren't happy, they stop playing the game, and spenders lose the advantage that they had in the game, as well as the pride that they have of having unique skins. And if spenders aren't happy, they stop spending money on the game, and the game has to close because funding is gone. You guys don't want Brawl Stars to close, and neither do I. I don't think that we're at that point, but this is an important issue. The thing is, earlier this year, I listed 3 major issues that Brawl Stars would face if they did not fix some things this year. The first was a lack of strategic depth in endgame, and to answer that, Supercell added gadgets almost exactly as I predicted over a year ago. The second was a lack of social features to keep people coming back to the game. Brawl Stars still hasn't improved on this, but I'm really confident it's going to happen later this year, and we'll see what that is. But the third major issue was long-term monetization. Brawl Stars is an expensive game to maintain and to develop. Just to give you one tiny aspect of it, according to the United States Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the average 3D artist and animator makes $72,000 a year. That's $72,000 that Supercell needs to pay one employee on the Brawl Stars developer team. One employee that requires very special training. Guess what? 3D artists aren't the only people on the Brawl Stars team that need very special training and are also in high demand and are expensive to hire. And that's just talk about employees. There are tons of other different types of expenses that I can't even fathom that Supercell has to pay in order for people to play Brawl Stars for free. I can't comprehend how expensive it is, but I do know that it costs millions of dollars each year just to maintain and develop Brawl Stars. And the big issue with Brawl Stars is that it has a much lower paywall than Clash of Clans or Clash Royale. And you might think that that's a good thing as a free-to-play player, right? And it is, because it helps keep the free-to-play player base happy. But the issue with that is that players like me who are willing to spend money on the game, and a lot of you guys who are willing to, spend a few bucks here and there, is that the amount of content that you can actually spend money on is very limited. And that means that they're missing out on money that they can use then to then develop the game. As a content creator, I spend a lot more money on the game than most people do because my business requires it. By the way, thanks for using code Kairos. I could not do this without you. But most other big spenders won't spend more than a few $100 in a game, and that sounds like a lot, but you have to compare that to the thousands that they could spend on Clash Royale or Clash of Clans or most other mobile games, right? There's just not enough in the game worth spending on, and most of the big spenders in Brawl Stars have already spent their money on the game and don't have a reason to continue spending on it. This is an issue that Brawl Stars needed to figure out how to fix, and it is exactly why I predicted that Brawl Stars would add a Brawl Pass to the game. Look, I get it. If you're a free-to-play player, it can be upsetting to miss out on new content that is coming from the Brawl Pass. But here's the deal. Assuming that Brawl Stars does not nerf free-to-play progression, this isn't any different than any other Brawl Stars update. Brawl Pass is going to be coming with exclusive skins. Well, Brawl Stars releases new skins that can only be purchased with money with every single update. Brawl Pass is coming with a new Chromatic Brawler. Well, Brawl Stars releases rare brawlers all of the time, and eventually, you're going to be able to unlock them much easier than even the rarest brawlers. So that's more content for everyone. Brawl Pass is going to make it easier for you to progress faster. Well, Brawl Stars already offered boxes, token doublers, and things like that in the shop that does the exact same thing. Everything coming in the Brawl Pass is what we are already getting with each update. It's just packaged differently, and it's likely going to come at a discounted price, which is good. Most spenders in Brawl Stars are light spenders, and light spenders are about to get a lot more value from their money. That is a good thing. Free-to-play players will also be able to get new brawlers to play, and Brawl Stars will have a new way to monetize their content, allowing them to continue making an awesome game that we all love that you can play for free. We'll see how this is actually going to impact the progression of free-to-play players. If my assumptions are correct, it'll be exactly the same, or free-to-play progression will actually be even boosted because of this. I want you guys to know that I take a lot of pride in taking the feedback that you guys put in the comment section, bundling it all up, and then giving it to Supercell, especially if the feedback is warranted. I've done this in the past, and Supercell always listens to it. With that said, this video is not the video that you want to put your feedback on because we don't know the specifics yet. Once Supercell gives me all the details on how progression is going to be changed, that is going to be the video that you're going to want to comment in. Because for all we know right now, it could be even better for free-to-play players. So hang tight and see what Supercell does. And as for now, I do want to know your thoughts on the new Chromatic Rarity, so let me know below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.